Hi, Chloe.
Hi, Sophia.
Thanks for being on Girlboss Radio again.
You're welcome.
While Jericho gallivants around, enjoying her time in America.
Was that your Australian accent?
Yeah, I don't know. So it's drinking season.
It is. It's the holidays.
I know. You can't get through the season without having a little bit of wine. And you know what wine is great for? Gifting.
Definitely.
And what better way to buy wine than with Winc? That's W-I-N-C. Do you know what Winc is?
No. What is Winc?
So Winc is an amazing wine subscription service that allows you to discover great wine. So you take a palate profile quiz on winc.com, and their wine experts select wines matched to your tastes, personalized just for you, shipped right to your door, and starts at just $13 a bottle. So, and with each wine you get, you can rate it, and they further personalize their recommendations as you go on. So if you want heavy-ass bottles of wine delivered right to your door that you don't want to carry in from your car, you can go to trywinc.com. That's TRYWINC.com. There's no membership fees. You can skip any month. You can cancel at any time. And shipping is complimentary. So, I mean, I don't even know how they afford that, but you should probably take advantage of it. Again, it's trywinc.com/girlboss, and you'll get $20 off your first shipment.
Wow.
I know.
I want to take the quiz.
It's free shipping and you get $20 off, so it's like, I mean, wow, I don't know how they do that, but it's trywinc.com. That's TRYWINC.com/girlboss for $20 off. Success. It's such a complicated idea, and yet for so long we've all collectively subscribed to a single definition of the word, which was likely given to us by a white-haired dude somewhere in a boardroom in the 1960s. And there's nothing wrong with that definition, with the notion of climbing a corporate ladder with a singular focus. But it's time to make space for a few other definitions, for side hustles and well-being and failing forward, and for the idea that success is a wild ride, not the destination at the end of it. Join me for a journey into the lives of women who are redefining success and paving the way for others with grit and grace. I'm Sophia Amoruso, the founder and CEO of Girlboss Media, and this is Girlboss Radio. High-performance achievers come in all different personality types. Some might even be hiding in the bathroom. Just ask Morra Aarons-Mele. Morra has always gone for it. Ivy League education, great jobs. She was always reaching for the next big opportunity. But after quitting 10 jobs before she turned 30, she realized something was wrong. She was sad, depressed, and crying in the bathroom.
And in my 20s, I worked mostly in internet, consumer internet. I worked at iVillage. I worked in New York. I worked in London. I went all over the world, and I was so unhappy. I was a mess. Outwardly successful, inwardly having panic attacks, deeply depressed, anxiety disorder, and crying in many bathrooms and acting out. And then finally one day I was like, nope, I'm not doing this. I can't keep doing this.
But as an introvert and self-described hermit, Morra came to the realization that sometimes success might mean leaning out instead of leaning in. Now, Morra Aarons-Mele is an entrepreneur, author, and host of the podcast Hiding in the Bathroom. She founded the digital marketing agency Women Online and has launched award-winning campaigns for the United Nations, Hillary Clinton, and President Barack Obama, to name a few. Today, Morra is here to talk about her new book, Hiding in the Bathroom, an introvert's roadmap to getting out there when you'd rather stay home.
That is what I wanted to write about. I wanted to write about someone who is very ambitious and driven to succeed, but to take care of her mental health, spiritual health, and person needs control over her time and place and pace of life. So I wrote a handbook about it. I made a New Year's resolution as it was about to turn 2016 that I wanted to grow my business, Women Online, but travel less, not be on planes. And I wanted to network less because I hate the idea of networking. It's just, I'm allergic to it. And I thought, how do I do this?
We'll swap stories about life as an introvert. We're going to talk about anxiety, societal pressure, and the ever-increasing push to keep moving up.
It's the same as knowing what to say yes and no to because, again, it's a marathon, not a sprint. And those of us who really know what works and what we can say no to and when to leave, I think it's a huge power.
But first, Girlboss's beautiful art director, Chloe Parks, is here to join me. So it's the week after Thanksgiving.
Yes, it certainly is.
Did you take advantage of any Black Friday, Cyber Monday sales?
I'm not very good at online shopping.
Really?
It's a vice that I don't have. So we're going to try and I don't.
That's cool.
Yeah, I buy most of the clothes that I get in person. So I feel like the Black Friday thing, if I go in the store, maybe. But
yeah, I don't really believe in buying stuff that you don't need. I think Black Friday is one of those things that really pushes that on you.
Yeah. I think it makes sense if you needed a fridge.
Or parachute sheets, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Our holiday party's coming up.
Oh, yes.
I'm so excited.
I can't wait to have that party at the office and then many more parties and events and fun things.
Because we have a big outdoor space at our office with a basketball court and palm trees.
Yes.
And neon lights.
Slam dunking just into the new year.
Chalk, the whole deal. Yeah, so very exciting for us here at Girlboss, and we have so much to celebrate this year.
I know, it's true.
And I just want to take a minute to thank everybody who's tuned into Girlboss Radio this year and last year and followed everything that we're doing and is downloading this podcast every month, because there's a lot of you. And, at the end of last year, I was feeling like I was just fell off the planet and that there was no way in hell I would be here today recording this podcast and have an amazing team and that people would still care about what we're doing, and it's really cool. So I'm going to take this moment to say thank you, even though Thanksgiving was last week.
Yeah.
Speaking of being grateful, I'm grateful for Pinterest for supporting Girlboss Radio, and we've been doing something that I really love doing with them, which is called What If Wednesday. It's hashtag What If Wednesdays. If you're a regular listener, you'll know that we've renamed Boring Wednesday or Hump Day or whatever you want to call it, What If Wednesday, and christened it the official day to try new things.
With our partners at Pinterest, we're asking you to try new stuff with us, and you can win some rad prizes. We're giving away 3 signed copies of Sophia's new book, The Amazing Girlboss Workbook, every week, and we're giving everyone a chance to win 2 free tickets to the next Girlboss rally in Los Angeles. So listen up, because you definitely want to join us and enter for a chance to win.
Each week on this podcast, we assign you a new challenge, and then you head to Pinterest. And specifically, we want you to go to our Girlboss board called What If Wednesday, which is full of inspiration to get you started. And so the question here is, what if you did something new today to boost your productivity and save you money without even leaving the house? And I think cooking at home can be a huge way to save money.
That's
I know
true.
I personally don't do it enough, and my health probably suffers as a result. So drop the takeout menu and start making your own DIY versions of takeout food at home today, and see how much money you save this week, and not to mention how much more pleasurable your dinners will be.
Girlboss has a bunch of inspiration and recipes for meals and condiments on our hashtag What If Wednesday Pinterest board. So have a look and then show us what you made on Instagram. Use the hashtag What If Wednesday, hashtag Girlboss Radio, and hashtag My Pinterest so we can find you. Then you could be featured on girlboss.com, and you could win those sweet prizes I just mentioned. And we can't wait to see what you create. I am going to make curry.
Ooh, I'm going to make sandwiches because, I used to work at Subway.
Hell yes. I worked at Jamba Juice.
Amazing.
That was my first job. I got to quit because I got mono.
Oh, amazing. I think I quit. I'm proud of that.
Yeah. I was like, I'm sick.
I don't want a mono smoothie.
Yeah.
So I have a surprise for you.
What?
We talk about Parachute a lot on this podcast, but this week we have Ariel K., the founder of Parachute Home, here on Girlboss Radio.
Amazing.
Yeah, and so we're calling this segment The Founder 5. It's 5 questions with the founder that I think we should all know about. So here's Ariel. Thank you for coming on Girlboss Radio.
Thank you.
This isn't our first time meeting.
No.
We met at Intelligentsia, but we met at the rally dinner.
Oh, yeah, we met at the rally dinner.
In March. Mm-hmm. God, it feels like so long ago. And it was.
That actually does feel like so long ago.
Doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's good, maybe. Lots of.
This year has been a
This year's been a doozy for everybody. So, but I want to talk about this year. I want to talk about your early career.
Okay.
What did you do before founding Parachute Home?
I worked in advertising. So, well, I did a lot of things. I lived in New York for 10 years. And in that time, I thought I wanted to be a million different jobs. So I worked in fashion for a bit. I worked in PR. I worked in music business, working at a label. But then I worked in advertising for a few years.
Do you have an MBA? How did you figure out how to
No.
start a company?
No, I don't. And that I think I don't think you need an MBA to start a company. I was on the strategic side of creative and advertising, so I was working a lot with doing consumer behavior research and really thinking about how to work with big brands and what motivates, inspires customers. And I think that was actually an amazing prerequisite to starting a company. Just thinking about customers and what people want and how to connect with them. And then, I realized I wanted to do something and have more of an impact and build a brand and have products.
Yeah. And so how did you get Parachute off the ground?
That part is really a blur. It was really one foot in front of the other and a lot of Google searches, how do you order boxes and, what are you supposed to do when this happens? But it was also a lot of hustle. I really was relentless. I decided I wanted to do this and then I did not stop. And I created a world for myself in which I had a lot of help through friends and a community, and I worked to build relationships, and I let go of every bit of pride and just fought for it.
Did you find advice from other entrepreneurs?
Yeah.
Did anybody guide you?
I definitely had advice from other entrepreneurs, some friends who were also entrepreneurs, and and then I got my first investment about 3 months after we launched. And so then I had this network of investors. But actually, before we launched, I joined Launchpad, which was an accelerator. And that was really helpful for a first-time founder with no team to have people that were also in that same boat and we're just trying to figure out how to solve all the basic problems. And what I realized in that was that everyone that has a company is sort of trying to do the same thing. They're trying to acquire customers. They're trying to build a brand. They're trying to, get people connected. And so regardless of what industry you're in, you can really find similarities and be really helpful to people without being competitive.
And having investors who understand what you're doing, I think, can also be really, really helpful. What were some of the challenges, though, in finding investment and in pitching investors? And
early on, it was that catch-22 thing that happens where people want to see more progress and they want to see you. They want to see customers, they want to see all these things, but everything that they want to see, you need money to get. So I would have these meetings. They'd be like, yeah, this is a great idea. We would love for you to make this leap and then we'll invest. But in order to get that leap, I needed money. So that was a constant uphill struggle. And it was a lot of thinking about, what are the small bits of progress that I can make and just be sending people updates weekly, being like, you remember when you wanted me to do this? Well, this is what I've done. And this is what I've seen, and this is me showing you that things are working and they're going to keep working.
That's cool. Yeah, I have a spreadsheet of those people who are like, come back for Series A.
Yeah, totally. And that gets really frustrating, but I think you really quickly learn that you're going to hear way more no's than you're ever going to hear yeses. And
the universe gave me a lot of no's in the last couple years.
Yeah.
But actual no's are still pretty new to me because I don't know. I just fumbled my way into a huge. I'm smarter than that. But fundraising. I didn't fundraise until we were already big, bigger and profitable. So this has been such a learning experience. Getting I have a whole spreadsheet full of no's, a huge tab full of no's.
Yeah, and it's funny when the no's come back.
Yeah.
Wait a second.
You're ching.
Yeah,
I did it. What is next for Parachute?
There's a lot next for Parachute. We're opening a lot more stores, really investing in the offline experience. I'm all about getting our product in people's hands and making sure that they can touch and feel and creating these memorable moments that people can really connect to. So doing a lot more of that. We also have a hospitality line that we're really developing and working directly with hotels to provide linens and for the rooms, and that's been really fun because we want to be with people as they travel and are on the road and creating these, again, really memorable moments that you can then take back home. We're doing a lot more in what we're doing. So, within the different rooms in your house, making sure that we're adding comfort and really being able to, keep that cozy thing going.
And you guys have not just sheets, but towels now.
We have sheets, we have towels, we have bathrobes, which are one of my favorite products.
Ooh, that's a good gift.
They are, it's the best gift. We have things like travel kits and throws and decor items. We also carry baby. So we've got crib sheets and swaddles and really cute little things like that. And, tabletop. So for hosting, we've got like
Amazing.
Table runners and napkins and placemats.
Those are so hard to find. Like, cute ones are so hard to
These
find.
are really great. We've got 2 collections now, and we're going to keep introducing more for different seasons, but they're really fun. And for me, hosting was such a big part of why I love the home space. So being able to actually use my products as I'm having friends over.
Not just sleeping with them.
Exactly. They don't have to be behind closed doors anymore. I can actually be like, hey, you're using this. And
More
we're hanging
appropriate.
out. Exactly. It's family friendly.
Cool. And this is a question I asked to everyone on Girlboss Radio. You know, this concept of success is such a fuzzy thing, and we live in this world that success really means one thing, and it means you, like, you know, sold your company, or you IPO'd, or you're like on the cover of the magazine or whatever, and those things are great, and like I want to do those things and you want to do those things, but success is so many more things than that, and it's something I think we should look at through a broader lens. What does success mean to you?
You know, it's really interesting. I think success almost every day can mean something different. I mean, for me, it's so much more about the journey than the end point, and I've really had to own that because, like you said, people talk about these bright, shiny objects, you know, hitting these revenue targets, or your team is huge, which means you must be successful, you know,
bleeding money.
Exactly. Or you get this huge valuation, and, you know, that's like some sort of gold star. And for me, that's actually, those are like where my deepest fears lie, is creating something that loses who we are at our core and building too fast. You know, it's like all about the health and wellness of a business, and I think yourself. But for me, you know, I've really tried to let go of perfection as it applies to success, and really focus on progress. And, you know, I try to be honest with myself. Like, some days getting out of bed is like, that's success. But other days, you know, looking around and seeing the team that I've built, and, you know, hitting milestones and finding ways to celebrate that, because you also should really celebrate those milestones. And that is part of success. But I think it's all about the journey. I mean, every day that I get to wake up and do something that I love, you know, I am a successful person.
You are. Thank you so much for coming on Girlboss Radio.
Yeah, my pleasure.
And thank you so much for supporting the podcast, and we hope that all of our listeners visit parachutehome.com this holiday season. Now let's turn our attention to Morra Aarons-Mele. She's an author, founder of the award-winning internet marketing firm Women Online, and a self-confessed introvert. Today she joins us to talk about her new book, Hiding in the Bathroom, An Introvert's Roadmap to Getting Out There When You'd Rather Stay Home. So let's start at the beginning. Where did you grow up?
I grew up in South Orange, New Jersey, pretty suburban New York metro area childhood, nothing too glamorous.
What did your parents do?
My dad was a labor arbitrator, which is a really interesting job. He was sort of like a judge, but he mediated between labor unions and companies or organizations. He did a lot of work in school systems and hospitals. He did a bunch of the pilot strikes. I remember he mediated when back in the 80s when they were suspending stewardesses for being overweight. He made a decision and he favored the stewardesses, although that's weird because he was such a misogynist, but that's a whole other story.
He's
but
not listening.
when he wasn't hearing cases, he worked at home in our home office in our attic, and I can still hear, listening back, the tap, tap, tap of his typewriter as he would do his briefs or dictate and smoke endless cigarettes. And he would always say to me in his thick New York accent, he'd say, "The best boss in the world is an asshole."
Wow.
And he was very proud that he worked for himself.
Do you believe that the best bosses are assholes?
I believe most people are assholes. So by default, many bosses are. I think that the culture of work is really toxic. So even people who aren't assholes, and I have probably been there myself, we have to act like them sometimes.
Yeah, it's like you have to make unpopular decisions when you manage other people, or even as a team member, sometimes you have to be a jerk to get your point across, which, I don't know, shouldn't be the case. there's ways of being like a polite jerk, I think.
I think you can be tough, but I think as we're seeing, literally every time I see a name trend on Twitter, I think, oh, who now? Is that there are many other elements that it takes to be an asshole, and people bring all their selves to work, both good and bad, right? So,
Do you think that there's a correlation between introverts and thinking that like people suck? Like, do you think that it's a trait of introverts to think that people suck?
that is a great question. I'd love to know what you think about that. Too.
I think I used to think that people sucked, and the older I get, the more I realize I have to learn from I have so much to learn from so many people. But at the end of the day, I really do like get overwhelmed and want to be alone and feel more vulnerable than I'd like to be in just kind of like normal social settings. So, and it's easy to think other people are assholes when you are so sensitive.
Oh my gosh. I think that's right. I think that when you go through life, picking up messages, right? And feeling your own messages, no one likes me, how come no one wants to sit with me, I must be dumb, I'm not normal, I'm this, I'm that. And you sort of, I think a lot of us who are introverts also develop social anxiety because we're hesitant, people respond to us. And so we sort of start playing those tapes, right, in our head. And so we almost, it would make sense that a lot of us do think that we think the worst of people because we've gotten conditioned to not be heard or to get negative feedback sometimes, right? Mm-hmm. But I like to think that people are good. I think that we're all human. I mean, I think that one of the things I've learned for so many years now, being sort of a tuned in, anxious introvert, is that we're all faking it a lot of the time. Like, we're all insecure. We're all human. And that doesn't make us good or bad. We're just human.
Have people told you that you're dumb? Because I know you went to Harvard and Brown University, so...
Yeah, dumb isn't my issue. Dumb is not my issue.
I'm guessing you're not dumb.
But I've talked to many, because I've interviewed and talked to now so many people who are introverts and have social anxiety. I hear that from them, especially women who aren't that talkative. Mm-hmm. They get that feedback. Certainly if you're in a room full of extroverts who won't stop talking and you don't talk that much, you might get that feedback, and it's wrong.
Yeah, you either seem like a jerk, mm-hmm. like you don't want to talk to anybody, and that like they're not like worth your time, or you're not curious about them, or so you either seem like this kind of cold jerk if you're quiet, or maybe just dumb and like have nothing to say.
Or uninspired, right?
By traditional definitions, Morra had everything going for her. She was in her 20s and scoring promotion after promotion. But something wasn't right, and Morra was still unhappy.
Out of college, I worked briefly in the film industry, actually. I was a publicity assistant in independent film. And it was funny because that was the culture of Weinstein. I worked at a company where a lot of ex-Miramax people were. And I saw some bad things. I never saw any Weinsteining, but people used to throw things at people, and it was such a bullying culture in general. I sort of was like, I'm not going to last here. And everyone smart I knew was going to work in the internet, right? This was the late 90s. So I got myself a job at iVillage.com, which was such an amazing experience. And in my 20s, I worked mostly in internet, consumer internet. I worked at iVillage. I worked in New York. I worked in London. I went all over the world, and I was so unhappy. I was a mess. Outwardly successful, inwardly having panic attacks, deeply depressed, anxiety disorder, and crying in many bathrooms and acting out. And then finally one day I was like, nope, I'm not doing this. I can't keep doing this. And I was 30.
Yeah, it's so tough when you have anxiety and depression, because it's easy to look around and be like, wow, is this my circumstance? Because I've been depressed pretty much my whole life, and it's on and off. I guess I've never really talked about it, but it's just such a thing. It's just such a like whatever normal thing to me. Like, I've never dated anyone who's not like depressive other than the man I'm living with currently. But it's it's easy to think that, oh, wow, because I'm stuck in high school and this is the wrong environment for me, I should be at like a Waldorf school, or I don't learn this way, or, oh, well, it's because of my relationship, or it's because I'm not in the right career that I'm feeling these things. And sometimes that is the case. Often
or
it is the
because I
case.
don't have a relationship, or because I'm not
Yeah.
right. Totally.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I'm so lucky to be able to complain about a relationship. But, you know, have you figured out how to navigate like the difference between those things? I tweeted recently, I can't tell the difference between my intuition and my anxiety. And
Oh, God.
yeah, like, what do you think about that?
Oh, Sophia, I like want to make a pillow out of that.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's like, am I onto something, or am I just like whacked out?
So my husband, he's lived with me now for almost 12 years, and he has come to be able to see through my anxiety and help me understand that anxiety. So I interviewed the wonderful writer Ashley Ford last week, and she goes, anxiety is a liar. It's telling you lies. And so I think when we feel like, I know the plane's going to go down, or I know I'm a loser, everyone hates me, or this is going to fail, that is our anxiety talking. That we have to come to a place, and I am not there, so I'm not yelling at anyone. But ideally, and this is what Ashley's working on, you come to a place where you can be like, anxiety or depression, you are lying to me. Like, get out of the way. Because those of us who travel with anxiety and depression, we have relationships with them. Like, in a way, my anxiety is one of the closest relationships in my life. Mm-hmm. And we are having a dialogue all day long. And so if it's telling me something, I listen to it. But what I'm trying to do is to just be like, stop. How do I know you're right? You say you're right. Maybe you're not. And so, yes, that intuition is probably your anxiety, but it feels real, right?
I know. Yeah. I was reading this book recently called The Untethered Soul. Have you heard of this book?
No.
It's great. And in the first couple chapters, because that's as far as I got, the author talks about, you know, that voice in your head, which everybody has, but with anxiety, it's amplified. And thinking about that voice as someone that you have to hang out with, and like, would you like let them into your life? Like, if you had actually, you know, imagine that being a physical person that was in the same room as you, telling you, you know, oh, he didn't text you back because he hates you and he's cheating on you, and actually his phone's dead, right? Or, oh my God, you know, he this is the best thing ever. You're so in love. Wow. And like the conflicting advice that person or that anxiety gives us constantly is not something we would tolerate in anyone or anything else in our life. Unless you really have like a penchant for abuse,
which many of us do.
Which
I mean,
many
that's right.
of us do, but it's not. It's something that we have. Like, yeah, it really is. Like, it's masochistic, and so, you know,
if we met our anxiety on Twitter, we would swipe left or right. Which way do you swipe?
I don't know. I'd mute them.
I agree with that in theory.
When you talk to Morra, it's easy to forget she's an introvert. But being an introvert doesn't have to mean you're not as ambitious as some of the extroverts out there are. Morra has some big ideas on how to use the inherent skills of an introvert to fashion a new kind of professional success.
One of the things that I have written about, and I would love your thoughts because you are so insanely successful as a depressive, anxious person. I think it's really inspiring.
How'd that work? Thanks.
Is like, do you ever feel, and I actually have a chapter called this, do you ever feel that your anxiety is a gift? Because for me, I actually do. Like, I've made peace with it, and I can see when it's lying to me, but I can also see how it keeps me focused, healthy, and sort of hungry and ambitious.
I think it keeps me honest, for sure. And, you know, anxiety is, you know, an amplified leftover of our primal time, you know, in some ways. The adrenal kind of, you know, leak that we have is very like fight or flight. But, you know, but we do live in a world where we're constantly being bombarded by so much information. And I think it's easy to trigger that. And it can also be something that, yeah, does, you know, connect. You know, there's like a lo-fi version of Carrie on Homeland that I feel like I have, which is maybe just abstract thinking, you know, that anxiety is a bit of like a catalyst for. And I do think it's served me, but it can also really hurt my relationships. And, you know, it's not great for, you know, being focused as a leader and not being reactive. And a lot of the things that I think come with anxiety, the outward expression of it may not be as enriching as the productivity or idea generation that it can bring us.
Of a soul at peace.
Yeah.
I think I agree with that. And of course, I haven't run a really large organization, but I do feel that if you know how to harness your anxiety and keep it in check, it can make you a really empathetic leader. And a lot of leaders that I've interviewed with anxiety credit their anxiety to making them good managers because they can tune into other people. They can read the room. They're good at problem solving. They're not just going to come in and take up airtime, right? They're actually going to absorb. So, and I take that seriously. I mean, it's that, and it's weird because that sounds like a really like girly, relational, feminine thing, but I don't think it is. I think it's like good human connection. Mm-hmm. And I also think that if you deal with anxiety and you know how to sort of keep it under wraps, like you probably manage your schedule better, you manage your energy better, you might even manage your health better. I've talked to executives who their anxiety actually dictates how they run their business and their life, which in a way keeps them at peak performance, which again feels counterintuitive, but I think there's something there.
Yeah, I'd like to figure that out. I think the ADD kind of just like makes a big mess of that opportunity for me, but
that's a tough one.
I calendar everything far in advance, and it certainly keeps me honest. So for those listeners who don't know what iVillage is or what, what that means for what you were, how you started your career, what was iVillage and what were you doing there?
I think I've just dated myself.
No, it's cool.
iVillage was the precursor to so much of what we do online. It actually came out of AOL back in the day when we had message boards. So, iVillage was founded by two women who saw through AOL and CompuServe message boards the incredible intimacy that was carved when people asked each other questions online. And actually, even dating, before there was Match.com and now Tinder and Bumble, people would often meet and connect with potential partners on CompuServe message boards. So this was like the prehistoric way that we connected online. And iVillage was amazing when I came on because it was really one of the first consumer internet brands that understood the power of women's voices. And, I'm sure you've heard the statistic a million times and your listeners have that women drive 80% or 80 to 90% of all purchasing decisions, right? Thus, you should spend your money with us. I mean, they were one of the first big brands that used their huge internet audience to say, like, come spend your money with our audience because this is where the women decision makers are. Mm-hmm. Which I have a lot of problems with because a lot of that money was being spent on shampoo and diapers and not on necessarily sort of taking these women seriously as anything but people who bought stuff. But it was powerful for me as a young woman to see, wow, when women come together and use their voices online, they have influence. And then if you fast forward 10 years to sort of blogging and the blogging revolution and blogher.com, which I also worked for, and then now you have these incredible YouTube influencers and Instagram influencers and, the next generation from the early mom bloggers, all of whom we now understand that online influence has currency and is worth money, but I think iVillage really helped pioneer that.
And you founded an award-winning social impact agency, Women Online. Is that the social change influencer database, or is that the mission list?
So the mission list is a product of Women Online.
Okay.
Women Online is a consulting agency, and then the mission list is our database of women influencers.
Tell me more. Tell me more about that.
Well, so because I had worked at iVillage, and I had worked then in online travel, and I worked at BlogHer back when blogging was like the thing in terms of power and user-generated content, and I also worked in democratic politics, I really came to this moment where I thought, women's voices online are powerful. These women who are blogging and publishing have millions of readers, and yet it's still the same old feminine mystique. Like, people are still just trying to sell us shit. Like, that's why people love moms, because we buy a lot of stuff. Mm-hmm. But you're not giving us the credit that we also vote, we advocate, we want social change. And I thought, wow, like if I could create a business around this where I could work with these mom bloggers and now I work with YouTubers and Instagram influencers, and we're doing, a lot with podcasters and Facebook Live and all these amazing new platforms. But the main goal is the same, is women, people like me, frankly, who often work at home and are introverts, who create content online because we have something to say. And then what my firm does, Women Online, is we match those women and those social media channels with causes and campaigns and nonprofits and, all kinds of really world-changing ideas that those women are going to want to talk about.
Is this a nonprofit?
It is not.
Oh.
I mean, some years it is, but no, it's a marketing agency. We operate on a sliding scale because we work with a lot of, really small budget nonprofits, and we believe in women-led enterprise, but we work with giant organizations as well.
Mm-hmm. So you have a new book called Hiding in the Bathroom, an introvert's roadmap to getting out there when you'd rather stay at home. Tell me about your new book. Is this your first book?
It is my first book. It's, writing a book is such an intense experience. I don't know if you found this, but basically I've built my whole business and my life these past 10 years to being able to work from home because it's really important to me to protect my time and my space. And I, honestly, that is what I wanted to write about. I wanted to write about someone who is very ambitious and driven to succeed, but to take care of her mental health, spiritual health, and person, needs control over her time and place and pace of life. So I wrote a handbook about it. I made a New Year's resolution as it was about to turn 2016 that I wanted to grow my business, Women Online, but travel less, not be on planes. And I wanted to network less because I hate the idea of networking. It's just, I'm allergic to it. Mm-hmm. And I thought, how do I do this? And that sort of spawned the book because I realized that I and lots of other women and men that I had consulted with, we get out there when we have to. And I'm sure you can relate to this, but only when we have to. And then when we don't have to be out there, like when we're done with that networking event or we're coming off stage or we've finished that pitch or we're, finished that presentation, we're either hiding in the bathroom in between sessions or we are hightailing it back to our hotel room or our office or wherever we can be alone and recharge. And that there wasn't really a manual to do that, the other thing about the internet and online community is you can create content online, and that's time that you don't have to spend selling to people in a room or networking or being on a plane. You can have an incredible online network, and that's time that you also don't have to spend literally sort of glad handling and schmoozing and meeting people in the flesh. And so I wanted to create that manual, and that's what Hiding in the Bathroom is.
What do you think the difference is between an introvert and someone who has like social anxiety disorder?
There's a lot of differences, and I'm certainly not a psychologist, but I wanted to interview some just so I had a good definition. The thing about an introvert is it's a temperament you're pretty much born with. And I think there's a lot of misconceptions about introverts. We're not all quiet. Many of us are very chatty. Some of us are quiet and shy, but not all of us. Being an introvert is really about controlling your energy. You like to be alone. You recharge through alone time. You get drained like Superman with kryptonite if you are overly stimulated in either large social settings with lots of strangers, by bright lights, loud noises. There's lots of sensory pieces with being an introvert. However, you can go out and build a gazillion-dollar enterprise. Some of the most famous actors and comedians and big business people like yourself are introverts. So it has nothing to do with how ambitious you are. It's how you recharge and manage your energy. Social anxiety is, as my psychologist friend Ellen Hendrickson says, it's a learned behavior. So you might be born introverted or extroverted. You learn social anxiety through negative feedback. So it could be, I heard a story about a famous CEO who was in debate club in high school, and he clammed up on stage once and everyone started laughing at him. And for many, many years, he could not give talks, even though he was a really famous CEO. He had social anxiety because of a bad experience in high school. So it even happens to really powerful people, but many of us who have social anxiety, it's not just about giving speeches. It's about getting out of bed in the morning. It's about calling a client on the phone. Even small interactions will fill us with fear. And many introverts have social anxiety, although it's not necessarily connected.
We'll have more with Morra Aarons-Mele in a moment. Chloe, know what time it is?
Lunchtime.
It's not lunchtime. It's time to talk about ShipStation. ShipStation has been a great partner to Girlboss Radio. And ShipStation is an essential. It's so easy to start a business online now. You can use social media to market. You can have your friends wear your cute stuff. You don't need real models.
It's never been easier.
It's never been easier to sell online, and ShipStation makes that so much easier because they are the fastest and easiest way to manage and ship all of your holiday orders from one place. So whether you're on Shopify, Squarespace, or another popular selling channel, ShipStation brings all of your orders into one easy-to-use interface, making it really easy to manage from your phone, your iPad, your computer, pretty much any device. And then you can create shipping labels. Do you have a favorite carrier, Chloe? It was FedEx, right?
Yeah.
So Chloe likes FedEx.
I do. I'm so biased.
Thank you for your contribution.
Yeah.
I prefer USPS because I've always wanted to drive the mail truck. And, ShipStation is an incredible partner because they let you choose the right carrier with the lowest rate for every single package. And right now, you can get a special offer exclusive to Girlboss Radio. Try ShipStation.com free for 30 days and get an additional month free only if you use my offer code GIRLBOSS. Don't wait. Go to ShipStation.com. That's ShipStation.com. And before you do anything else, click on the microphone at the top of the homepage and type in Girlboss. That's ShipStation.com. Enter Girlboss. ShipStation. Make ship happen.
Make ship happen.
Make ship happen. But while we're on the subject of the holidays, I really secretly wish I could just hibernate and read through every magazine that has been collecting dust in my house. But you know what? You know what's better than, the greasy magazines you get in the mail that get dusty, that get outdated, well, it's Texture. Do you know what Texture is?
No.
Texture is an app that basically has every magazine you could ever want to read, along with back issues and special content in one place. So let's say you're hosting friends and want to impress. You can have Bon Appetit and Real Simple to inspire your whole event. And when you're thinking about taking a trip, Afar and Airbnb magazine are on Texture and can inspire your next vacation. So no matter what mood you're in, let Texture and the unlimited access of over 200 premium magazines help inform, entertain, and inspire you this winter. And right now, you can try Texture for free, which is cheaper than a magazine.
I know, that's the problem. They're so expensive.
Dude, they're expensive. And so imagine having your favorite magazines and all their back issues anytime, anywhere. So to start your free Texture trial, go to Texture.com/Girlboss. And if you choose to continue, podcast listeners will get Texture for just $9.99 a month. That's like 2 Us Weeklies. And that's over 30% off their regular listed price. There are also great gift options available for the holiday season. So go to Texture.com, that's TEXTURE.com/podcast to start your free trial today. Morra Aarons-Mele is refreshingly honest about her anxiety, and she's eager to offer strategies that have helped her learn to deal with her anxieties.
I think it's really important, the distinction between what you do for a living and how you do it. And you mentioned ways of working versus career choice. Mm-hmm. And I think that's really important because a lot of jobs that you might think of as horrible for an introvert actually are manageable because, again, if you could be out there in short chunks, in manageable, what I call bearable chunks, and then have a day off or a day at home or a quiet day, then you're okay. So what I would tell an introvert is it's less about the work that you do than how you do it. So even someone who has such a full-on job, imagine being an emergency room nurse or doctor, right? I mean, sounds like a horrible job for an introvert. And I've never been one, but I've talked to people who said, well, yes, you're full on when you're on, but you work a 12-hour shift. You might work 3 12-hour shifts in a week, but then you're home. And so you can manage your energy appropriately. Mm-hmm. What I think a lot of us who are in office roles don't think about is the drainage really that it takes for an introvert to be sitting in an office day after day. You're close to your coworkers. You might be in a pod or a collaborative setting. It's bright. if it's not loud, at least there's a lot of bustle and noise. You don't have physical privacy. You might have to wear headphones to protect your privacy, but a lot of people don't like that. I hate wearing headphones. And so if you're an introvert and you're in an office job, how do you manage that? Well, that is something that you might either want to say, forget it, I'm done. But most of us can't do that. So can you make tweaks? Can you change up your space during the day? Are you able to take some time to work from home? Can you literally shift the time and space that you work in order to protect yourself?
Yeah, I have been, it's like my opportunity is like, oh, I could like go, this podcast could be on video, but like when that suggestion is made, I'm like, hell no, like I can't even, it's enough to like, and I'm so fascinated by all the guests and the conversations I'm so lucky to have on this podcast. But yeah, it's being on is tough. And, when you have to be on as a host and then as a leader and then speak at a conference and then I don't know. It's a crazy thing to put yourself on the cover of a book, and you become someone that people expect to keep being visible when what I often want to do is be invisible. But and so yeah, for me it's been a matter of like, navigating the opportunities versus what, I can really actually tolerate, and finding those spurts where I can perform and be more extroverted, but then find myself in a place where I can really recharge, because it's challenging.
Have you gotten better at what you can say? I mean, knowing that you can only do so much, or you'll just collapse with anger and exhaustion from being too pushed. Like, have you learned to say yes and say no in a more productive way to things?
I say no a lot more now than I used to. And there's a lot of people who just want to like, let's catch up, let's get coffee, let's just get lunch. Like, oh, let's catch up over nothing. Like, that I've begun to say no to a lot more, and more speaking engagements. It's like I'm like, at this point it's really cool because I put in a lot of the work in my 20s and I'm like a more known entity, and now it's like I don't have to kind of put myself out there in the same ways. I can be a little bit more surgical about how I spend my time in public facing opportunities. So that's been really nice. And also, building Girlboss instead of building Sophia has been a choice. Like, Girlboss is the brand. Like, I'm kind of like the Jiminy Cricket of it, but like, I don't, like, this isn't like the Sophia show, right? I think that was like a really big decision for me to not go down like the Hollywood talent route and be like, I'm going to have a talk show and it's going to be called Sophia, and Sophia is the opportunity and whatever, which was
and it's also it's
pitched to me.
Leadership, right? It's distributed leadership. I just wanted to hit on something you said about starting early, and I mean, you're an unusual and special example, but one of the things I put in the book based on my time as a political consultant in Washington, and I think there's a lot of other industries you could draw parallels in, but I want to throw it out to listeners who are thinking, but I'm not Sophia. How do I put it? Like, I want to be able to say yes and no, but I can't. It's a good time when you're in your 20s
yeah.
or wherever you are,
just
to
say
sort
yes.
of suck it up and say yes.
Yeah.
And also align yourself with a really big brand, whatever it is in your field, right? So in politics, I knew a lot of people who worked on a big presidential campaign, and that sort of set them up early so that by the time they hit 30 and realized, I hate this crap, they could be more selective. So think about that. Like, if you're in your 20s and you're looking ahead and you're like, I cannot sit under these fluorescent lights for the rest of my life, you don't have to, but you might have to put some time in up front so that when you want to work from home, go out on your own, have more freedom, whatever, you've got the Rolodex, you've got the network.
Totally. That is really, really, really good advice. There's an onslaught that you can endure in your 20s, as like unnatural as it may be for you, that I think is really critical sometimes. And if you aren't going to be like the star of the show, which you may not want to be or may not be your opportunity, aligning yourself with a brand that is a household name in ways makes you more in demand. And, for better or worse, Nasty Gal was a business that, everyone who came out of Nasty Gal, whether they were, a great team player or someone who didn't work out, and despite, our company culture never having really like worked out and been as great as I would have loved it to be, those people went on and were able to, get jobs at really great companies. And, I'm not tooting my own horn because I
but
I
you're
could have
so
done a lot
right.
better
So
there. But, it's very smart to align yourself with brands that are a part of the zeitgeist or just like known entities.
Or even in your field, right? So whatever
Yeah.
your field is, whether you're in medical research or internet. But I think that sort of front loading is a real, I call it, and then you can leapfrog. It's such a good strategy.
It is, yeah. Don't like chill in your 20s because it gets a lot harder in your 30s and I'm sure a lot harder in your 40s.
Just wait till you get to your 40s.
No, well, and there's just, you're managing more things. People are like, how did you do it? Like, wow, you're so brave to start a business. I was like, I was 22. I had nothing to lose. And now I think about, I'm like, holy shit, like, if I had a family, like how would this work? And, people, making career changes or committing to 110% or being the extrovert when you're an introvert, when you have these other things in your life that many of us in our 20s don't, demanding your time is much, much easier in your 20s.
That's right.
Have you taken the Myers-Briggs test?
It's funny. I took one a long time ago and I remember saying, I'm going to be an extrovert. There was no way in hell I was ever going to let myself be an introvert on the test because I was in a sales role and I was very public. And I was like, I'm not going to be an introvert. And I remember I scored just on the cusp of E and I.
So are you in E, I, N, T, P, C, B, D? What are you?
I think I was an ENTP.
Okay. I'm an INTP, but I have a little bit of extroversion in there. Like I'm capable.
And we can play it. We code switch, right? I mean, I think that's the other thing that you learned, certainly if you're ambitious and you're in a more public role, which could be just even if you're in a sales role or a marketing role in work, is you learn how to switch it on, right? And play extrovert. And so I think that like when I've been talking to people around the country, they hear me talk and they're like, oh my God, I think I'm an introvert. Like they've been diagnosed with a disease or something, like there's something wrong with them. And I want to be like, no, it's a gift that you have. You know your true self, but you also know how to turn it on when you need to. That's awesome.
Through her work with women online, Morra empowers those who are introverted, shy, socially anxious, or just tired of having to be always on with tools to allow them to succeed on their own terms.
I am sort of a believer in playing a part. I sort of put on a costume and assume a role when I have to turn it on. And I always take a minute to tap into the meaning of why I'm walking into that room. It could be because I love my book and I want to talk about it, or, this is a really big client and a milestone for my business, or, oh my gosh, I have 3 children to help put through college, right? I always try to give myself a little pep talk about why I'm there. And then I say, go do it. And here's what you're going to do. So if I'm at a networking event, it's like, I'm going to talk to 3 people and then I'm allowed to leave. If I'm giving a sales pitch, you're going to give the pitch. You're going to do the small talk afterwards and then you're done. Like I try to put it in bearable chunks and always, always, always tap into the meaning of why the heck I'm doing it. And I honestly think that if you can sort of gear yourself up like you're an athlete heading into the big game, right? Mm-hmm. You can do it. And then whatever you need to do afterwards. So if you're at a conference and you're staying at the conference hotel, like it's okay to go up to your room in the evening, skip the happy hour, skip dinner, watch Netflix and order room service. Like that's okay because your world is not going to change whether you go to that happy hour or not. Like take some of the pressure off and build in the breaks. It's the same as knowing what to say yes and no to, because again, it's a marathon, not a sprint. And those of us who really know what works and what we can say no to and when to leave, I think it's a huge power.
Yeah, knowing when to leave. So as much as like you should throw yourself into things in your 20s, also knowing like not looking too thirsty and being at everything, I think is also good advice, that like, there will be other opportunities. And there's certainly people I've met that are like at every last thing. And they're like, hey, like, and it seems like all they do is network. It's like, how do you have time?
Do you have a job?
Do you have a job?
Well, and tech is full of that. Like I did the tech circuit for a little while when I first started my business, and I would go see these people and I would be like, well, I don't understand. Do you actually like, how do you earn money? That the other thing though, and this is interesting, is that I think women sometimes are socialized not to get out there, that it's not as good a use of our time as like being in the office and putting out fires. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying that. Like there is a balance and there is value to FaceTime. You just have to be strategic about it.
Yeah, I went to the TED conference and I was so overwhelmed because the whole, there's all these like kind of mixer thingies and you're like, It's one thing if you're at a business thing and you're like, oh, wow, like this is essential because these people are in my industry. But
Right.
TED is, and it's like the coolest, most like coveted thing to be able to do. And I felt like such a jerk because I was like meeting a juggler or something, like a guy, like he was wearing like flip flops and it was like in Vancouver. And I was just like, what am I doing with my life and why am I like expending energy on something that's like so inessential, even though it's like the most coveted thing, and I ended up leaving early. But
Oh my gosh, Sophia, because I have such TED FOMO. Can I just tell you?
Oh, really?
I've been
yeah, you want to meet a juggler? If you want to meet a juggler, go to TED. I mean, no, TED's amazing. So, I mean, such inspiring stuff, but it's so agnostic in the like kind of like type of category that it's like you really have to be like a global citizen, and like I'm in my early 30s, so I'm just becoming one, I guess, and I'm also an only child, so maybe I'm a little selfish.
Well, and it's a lot of socializing and connecting, and
Yeah.
that's okay.
Yeah.
But I think also, like I always say, I'm a dog. I am like a dog. I need a job. So if I could go to a gathering and have a specific job, whether it's taking people's coats or giving a talk, I'm good. But if I'm there sort of like aimlessly, that's when I get anxious.
I have
and
friends
that's when
that
I hide.
DJ for that reason. Like they want to be out,
Really?
but like when you DJ, you get to kind of like have this little space that's your own. You get to control things a little bit, but like you're still like kind of hanging out.
I love it.
How do you think being an introvert differs for women? Do you think it is a disadvantage for us?
Oh, geez, I think so many things are a disadvantage for us. I mean, it's like just throw that one on the pile.
God.
No, honestly, here's the thing. I have been sort of shocked and honored at how many men have come to my talks recently and how many men have responded to my book and my podcast, because men are introverts too, and men are stuck in the patriarchy too. And I think that part of when we say extroversion at work, what we're really talking about is patriarchy. We are talking about the stereotype of the garrulous alpha male, hello, our president, salesman in chief, right? Who dominates, who is always working, who's always up for another round, right? Like part of what we mean when we say extroversion is alpha male toxic masculinity. I really believe this. Not that I don't love extroverts in my life. And so I think that a lot of men feel really trapped by that too.
I agree. What is garrulous? I love this word. Can you tell me
Chatty.
Chatty? That's a word for chatty.
Talkative.
Amazing.
Talkative.
Cool.
It's a fancy word for talkative.
I like to talk about success and what success means, because we're living in this construct that was, built largely around wealth and, achievement and career, and not about being successful in our own lives. And it's, a paradigm that was built by and for someone who's not like you or me. And yeah.
And
so,
who has a wife at home with dinner and slippers.
I know. I can't tell you how many times I wish I had a wife.
Every night. What has my wife made me for dinner? Oh, nothing.
Introvert and quote-unquote successful are two terms that tend to be at odds with each other in a corporate setting. But dispelling those stereotypes and helping to reimagine happiness and success is what Morra is setting out to do.
I have an extremely clear definition of success. I mean, I even trademarked the term hermit entrepreneur, which is what I call myself because
Amazing.
I believe so strongly in it. So when I sort of started thinking about all this stuff, I made a vision for myself. And my vision can be summed up as like Mondays. I never wanted to have the Sunday night blues again. I wanted to think, oh, it's Monday. I'm working. Okay, cool. And also have enough money to support my family and do work that made me happy and made a difference in the world. As long as I can keep doing that, I am so successful. And I working at home and having my space and my time is worth $1 million a year to me in salary. You would have to pay me a lot of money to get me out of my yoga pants in my
I
home
have
office.
FOMO of that. That's what I have FOMO.
A lot of people do. Now, look, there's trade-offs, right? I'm not you. I'm not like rolling in it. I'm not on the covers of magazines. But I have as much control as a mother of 3 small children who runs a small business with a workaholic husband can. So you can it's not a ton, but I protect my time and my space and my choice so ferociously. As long as I can do that, I am successful.
Success, reclaiming your time.
Reclaiming your time.
And you're a mom of 3. How does being an introvert factor into having 3 kids like tugging on your pant legs all day? And then what are you teaching them about success?
It's really funny because I have a lot of mom guilt, and I'm definitely, as much as I love to say I work at home, I work really hard too. So I don't do drop off. I'm not the room parent. I have a lot of working mom guilt, even though I might be working at home. So I just wanted to dispel that myth, because people are like, oh, you work at home, you must be baking cupcakes every day. No, like they never see me around school. A. B, my kids are amazing and normally don't drain me, except when they do. Like the other day, I said, Mommy has to be alone. You have to go away. And even the 2-year-old was like, okay, Mommy. So I think it's okay. And I've talked to educators about this. It is okay. And we have a lot of pressure to be perfect parents, especially those of us who work a lot. Your kids understand that you need to be alone sometimes, and they probably need to be alone sometimes too. So I want to raise children who like being with themselves. I mean, what a gift. I don't want to raise kids who have to be entertained every single moment of the day. So at least that's what I tell myself. I want them to be self-sufficient and understand Mommy needs a break.
Let them cry themselves to sleep. I'm kidding.
Newsflash, they do that anyway.
Yeah.
Okay, that's just like par for the course. And for success, I try to take them around. I take them to my speeches. I sort of take them around. And I said, Mommy's an introvert. Do you know what that means? And they said, it means you hide in the bathroom. And I was like, yes, you are on message.
Amazing. This is a question I ask every one of our guests. And it's, what was your most recent girl boss moment? And a girl boss moment can be, kind of anything, but really about reclaiming your time and doing something for yourself or for your business or for someone you love, not because you're obligated to, but because you want to. And if you do it because you're obligated to, it's because that feels good for you, I guess. It could be a bubble bath. It could be launching a website, Morra, what was your most recent girl boss moment?
Well, I am absolutely honored to be a girl boss, even if I'm too old to be. I think also, I'm just so honored to be a woman who has a business that's been successful for many years. That feels like an achievement. So my recent girl boss moment sounds silly, but I'm going to share it anyway, which is I used to have a podcast that was produced for me by a big network. So I didn't have to do any of the tech, right? I could just show up and talk. And people joke about me in my company and even with my husband, because I'm not, for someone who works in internet, I'm not terribly technical. But my podcast network fired me, which was very painful and a whole other deal. I let it sit for a few months.
God.
And then 2 weeks ago, I said, you know what? F this. I'm going to start podcasting again. And I set it up on Libsyn, which is a podcast service like SoundCloud. And I recorded my very own podcast, and I even edited a little bit. I tagged it, I posted it, and I sent it out to iTunes. And seeing that podcast that I had made myself, which really wasn't that hard, show up on iTunes looking professional, was a total girl boss moment. All this to say that you can do what you want and be flexible and overcome your intimidations and your fears at all different points in life. And triumphing over that little piece of personal tech was like very empowering.
What's it called again?
It's called Hiding in the Bathroom.
Surprise. Amazing. We're all going to go listen to it right now. That's amazing. That's such a great girl boss moment. Congratulations on everything. I can't wait to read your book. And I don't know, we'll have to meet one of these days. Like,
I would love that. And
in a dark room, in a
for like 10
bathroom.
minutes.
Yeah, 10 minutes, and then just go be alone.
It is also really empowering. I just want to leave this with, to be able to say, I need to be alone. I'm leaving now. I need a minute to think. That's a big one in meetings. I used to feel a ton of pressure to talk in meetings and brainstorm. And now I'm like, I need a minute. So I think that reclaiming your time, especially if you're an introvert, is very girl boss, and I encourage everyone to try it. And I'm having a total moment being on the show because I've been such a fan of yours.
I agree. Thank you. I think we have a lot in common. Follow us on social media and check out girlboss.com. Our team is putting out so many great features every day. See you guys next week.